All right, so the next part here that I'm going to be going over is your InDesign questions that I had received. I feel naturally I got probably the most questions about InDesign, and yes, I think across the board everybody, had some challenges with InDesign. And just so to reiterate this whole application, it's for publication use. It's for making print publication, whatever that's going to be. Whether you're making postcards or brochures or, catalogs like full booklets and so on and so forth. InDesign is the best to go about that because of the way it creates the layout to be able to create these print projects. Okay, that's what publication means. Photoshop and Illustrator are great to design things from, and then to bring it into this publication tool. And that's what I want to reiterate here, okay? So I believe somebody had mentioned about gradients, so I wanted to go over that. It is slightly different in this application to create a gradient. I don't know, I cannot remember if I went over this, and I apologize if I didn't. It's similar to Illustrator, where whatever is defaulted, as you could see in the fill, it creates this default fill when you create it through the rectangle tool, okay? Hope that all sounds familiar to you from the, the other videos that I had already talked about. I'm just going to go ahead and make this into a solid color and then show you again what I had done. So here is the default that I made, and it's a solid black, as you can see in the fill. If you look below here, there's actually a quick apply gradient button that's actually next to the kind of like the apply solid color button. So that's the one that I'm going to use in the center here. Okay, so I click on it and it makes a gradient. Okay, it makes a default gradient, black to white, white to black, and you will see it here in the gradient area. There's this tool area, to the side that we have with all of the Adobe applications, and it's on the bottom here. It's gradient. If it's not there, it's in the window, so make sure to open up that panel if you need it, and that's with any of the Adobe applications. That's what you do. So here is the gradient area. Okay, you're going to now click on one side of the color scheme. So I have the white area to the gradient selected. All right, I'm going to double click on this fill square, and it's going to pop up the color picker. I'm going to pick any old color, okay? So I'm picking a color and I'm pressing OK. Boom. One side now has the color. Now I'm going to do the other side. Click on the other side of the spectrum, okay, which is the black. You're going to click again into the color picker, and then I'm going to just pick any old color. Boom. So that's how you create gradients. Now, again, if I go to the rectangle tool, like I showed you before with Illustrator, it defaults to the gradient, but then you have to kind of pick your colors again, okay? So you get to then go into the system again, pick any color colors that you want, and go through the spectrum, go through the color picker. Here is also the spectrum here that you can go through and pick from there. So then you actually pick your colors every single time, but it will default to whatever that default will be with the rectangle tool, like I showed you with Illustrator. Okay, so that is just a quick rundown of that. Then I believe that we talked about, or somebody was mentioning about how the text tool is working on certain images. I am literally going through my media kit that I had showed you in the last lab again. So here is that. This probably looks familiar to you if you went through this lab. This is the media kit that I had showed with, all of the different images, And then I, applied them together into this InDesign file. As you can see, these are all graphics and all texts that you're put together, headers, all of it text-based is all within this file. This right here is just something that I was playing around with just to kind of show you again. So I was starting to apply these images. We're gonna go ahead and go with, let me bring this into a color, just a regular black color again, because this is what it would default to. Okay, so anytime you're creating your text box, you're gonna always have it to this black default or registration color, they call it. You're going to create that text box like I showed you in the labs prior, and you see that there is a text box here once you click and drag to the desired box that you want. Yes, I believe somebody had said it always types from left to right. That's again a default. A lot of these things are defaulted. You're just going to have to change those defaults. Okay? And I believe you were mentioning also about exporting content from Photoshop into the other applications. It's really kind of a simple situation. You're literally going to copy the information from this application by going Command C or whatever button it needs to be with the PC world, and then bring it into here and do Command V. Boom, all the information's in there. Yes, it does look like it's blending into the background, but that is because it's defaulted to the black. So you have to now manage the color system here by going ahead and double clicking onto the color picker. And then if you see a color that you think you would like to do, I'm just going to do white just so it can pop a little bit. And then you see that it's a little better. You start playing around with size and font and all that good stuff. The way you do that is through the character or the paragraph. I believe, again, you were mentioning that you were seeing that it was aligning left all the time. You just have to change the alignment. So the alignment area up here in the paragraph panel will help change the alignment. I'm going to make it centered. And there you go. So now it's at a centered area. And then you just kind of, fool around with the absolute part of the character portion of the panel. And that's going to give you the different typefaces, what kinds of families there are. You're just going to have to kind of go over that yourself and figure those things out, making the header bigger, so on and so forth. So that is to kind of run over that kind of an area too. And as you can see, I think the last thing that some people were saying was, wow, my stuff looks really pixelated or really low quality when it's in InDesign, and I don't know why, and I'm trying to fix it. Don't worry about that. As long as your files or your graphics that you create, remember the labs that I've gone over with you, as long as they're high quality, yes, when they get into, so this is Photoshop, right? And then I've created, I created one of the files, one of the images. Let's go into here real quick and I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is, again, this is showing you the file system. Here's the folder. Here is all of the graphics that go into the InDesign file, all right? And then we're gonna click on one of these images here. Any one of these images are all in this file. And then, once you've, cut them all up, like I showed you in the lab, these specific graphics then are all placed in the InDesign file, okay? Showing you that these are two examples of those images, but here's a whole slew of them that I placed together, and you could see this in the lab as well, of how I placed all of these graphics together on top of one another, around each other, just to kind of create this file, right? And it's not the highest quality because it compresses the images just for file restrictions that there are with InDesign, But once you export it into the PDF, that's when it's going to look better again. It's going to now, so here is the PDF version of the Media Kit, and it's nice, clean, and crisp again. Okay, so once you export it into PDF, that's when you're going to see your images really nice and sharp again. So if it looks poor quality at first, that's okay. In InDesign, you make sure you make your high quality graphics ahead of time when you're going from Photoshop and making those graphics happen. Okay, that's where you got to make sure you have high quality. But if it looks like it's a little pixelated in InDesign, not a problem. Once it gets exported into a PDF, it's going to look fine. All right, so that's it. I pretty much went through all of the questions that you guys had. I have one more little video that I will do, and I hope you enjoyed all of the different tips and tricks that you guys, gave me the feedback for. So thank you.